welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Here we are. I suppose it is now. Interesting. I just got an email from the good people in Portugal. They're desperate to sell real estate, and they've got beachfront properties now going for under 500,000 US. Woo! You better go grab them. If anything, oh boy, the economic situation in Europe these days looking pretty grim. Thank you, Mr. Putin. You fucked up everybody's life. What a big surprise. Including the million or so people that he actually has blood on his hands when he stands in front of his maker. But anyway, it's interesting. If Vladimir Putin died today, would he get the same treatment in front of God as someone like Hitler? And I suppose you could argue, what's a million deaths between friends, eh? Anyway, kind of an odd start to the video, but I just happened to see that, and it, if anything, this is a perfect analogy of what I think is going to happen here over the next 6-8 months. Is I don't necessarily think the United States and the U.S. economy is in trouble, but I could definitely see the world economy, especially if Mr. Trump gets elected. Oh my God. You can just imagine Justin right now sitting in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, for anybody who hasn't got a clue where Ottawa is, my country's capital. You can just sit there. He's just going, oh, please, the Democratic Party, cook the books like you just did here in the BC election. Come on, you could do it. You could do it. What's a little bit of voter fraud between friends? Hey, we're practically communist anyway. We're run by the CCP, so why not? Come on, Cammy, get in there and cook the numbers. Cook the numbers. In fact, I would imagine almost every single government body agency around the world is praying to God that these Democrats can cook the books here and jam through Cammy here. And I mean, the irony of all of this is that if the election is close, then they're going to cook the books. And like some states, Pennsylvania, for example, is notorious. Like they keep in mind, Pennsylvania politics, this goes back like 300-400 years. And they have an incredible history of corruption in Pennsylvania. So don't be surprised. I mean, the only way that Trump could actually win this election, in my humble opinion, is if it's a landslide. If it's even close, then my hunch is they will mysteriously find, like in BC, well after the election, like literally a week after the election, oh, we mysteriously found 17,000 votes that haven't been counted. Where did they come from? Oh, I don't know. We won't talk about that, right? I mean, the corruption in this society is awful, just awful. And I suppose, the irony of it all is I'd be willing to bet that there were a lot of German citizens in like 1930 that were just like, oh my God, can you believe what the hell's happening to our society? And there was nothing they could do about it. Just the train was just, unstoppable train wreck. And it was eventually going to end in doom. Anyway, it's always a fun time in the market, isn't it? Anyway, so we have been waiting for this event for quite some time. So it is now finally here. I think on balance, we probably would have been best served just to acknowledge the fact that this was such a huge political event. And probably you weren't going to see a hell of a lot of resolution one way or the other ahead of the event. It's just way too politically charged. So, I mean, interestingly enough, I think that Bitcoin price would have done It's a normal, natural correction following happening events. I mean, it happens, past 3 or 4 cycles. No reason why it shouldn't have happened this time, other than this person here came in and basically, quote unquote, securitized Bitcoin. I think you could make the argument that there was a major push in our society to make sure that Wall Street and the security promotion part of our society was basically forced to leave things like the housing market and the housing industry, following the Great Depression, because so many people got so screwed by the banksters through all of that and lost all their houses and stuff. And I mean, a real tragic sort of commentary on capitalism and these nasty, nasty capitalists. They are evil fuckers. In fact, I watched a really interesting interview Joe Rogan had on. I didn't know what the guy's name was. I didn't catch it. I should probably retweet it and stuff. Sort of detailing how brutally corrupt that whole great financial crisis was, and how it had absolutely nothing to do with housing, and it had everything to do with Wall Street had this brand new product that they could basically shill to, unsuspecting customers like the Chinese. Do you think the Chinese actually understand how capitalism works? So the Chinese just bought this line, hook, line, and sinker. And then, of course, the whole damn house of cards fell apart because it was all a big fraud. And I believe that quantitative easing was nothing more than the Chinese said, look, at you buy these bad bonds off of us at a face value, or we are just going to simply dump them in the marketplace and destroy your economy and destroy your country. And that's the end of Western capitalism. And so Ben Bernanke in 2000 and I guess 2000, early 2009, I guess, made his famous, well, we are going to do quantitative easing. And I still remember the pitch that he did in front of the U.S. Senate. And you could see that everybody there knew the con job. Everybody knew the lie, but they had to go through the process. And you could even see it on his face. If you ever watch the videos, it's incredible. Should probably find it. You could literally see it in his eyes, like he's shifting back and forth, looking at all the senators up on the podium, making damn sure, okay, is everybody on script here? Is everybody on script? Is everybody going to follow script? Okay. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Say the lines, Ben. Don't fuck this up. Say the lines, say the lines, say the lines, say the lines, right? And they just got through it and they pulled the con job off. And of course, this is the society that we live in on the other side. And it probably only will, we've done lots of conversations with this about what the sort of latter part of this decade should look like. If we follow the 1940s model, I've shown you this repeatedly. You can Google this, inflation 1940s. I think that we're in basically the same part of the cycle. And, none of this should be any new to any of this audience, but, for the sake of posterity, we might as well review the price charts. Where the heck did I have those? I think I had them over here. What's interesting is to actually see Newmont is following along this course that we were expecting. I think this is the same document. So I actually think we're right about here right now. And of course, this is what we have ahead of us, right? 1984. 1987, 88. You could easily substitute 2024, 2028, and of course, all of you crypto kids and anybody who's long Bitcoin. And interestingly enough, you notice how the European government now is going to actually charge like a 44%. I mean, stupid Denmark. And from what I understand, a lot of these insane over-the-top socialist European countries are all piling on. I think Italy now is going to join the crew. They actually want to charge a 44% capital gains tax on unrealized capital gains in Bitcoin, i.e., if you got in at Bitcoin at the bottom of the market and just bought and hold like a good investment, just put it away and forget about it, they literally want to steal 44% of your gains. If you're long Bitcoin from $100 and the goddamn thing's like fucking $1 million, they literally want to steal about half of that gain from you. Isn't that incredible? So, in a weird sort of way, I could actually see Bitcoin do something like this as long as they do it right after the point that they pass this absolutely insane capital gains tax. And it's the worst part about this is unrealized capital gains. So it doesn't even matter whether you sold it. And I'd be very curious to see what, like we've had a bunch of buddies, my poor old buddy Sjord over there living in the Netherlands. I mean, I know one other TRI alum also living in the Netherlands, and he's long Bitcoin from like 10 cents, if that's even possible. But, a lot of TRIers who've been around since day one, they're long Bitcoin. Hell, even the coins that I have for Liam, technically my cost basis is about $400 a Bitcoin for him. So I don't think it's going to happen here in North America. And, well, actually, I better temper that. I don't think that kind of tax regime could pass in the United States of America unless we have some massive left-leaning revolt, which might happen sort of like middle to the end of Trump's presidency, especially if there's some sort of big scandal or something that he's wrapped up in. You might see the same thing as like 2020 with the way that the whole U.S. government went totally leftist. And of course, that set the stage for this insane hyperinflation world that we're in now. Thank you very much, stupid socialist idiots. I swear this is a major failing of this human species. And the saddest part about all this is the humans don't even realize they're playing into the banksters' hands. The banksters already figured out this formula. There was a famous Rothschild who publicly said he didn't really care who was in charge of the government, whether it be some over-the-top insane fascist dictator who's going to blow up the government budget on military spending, going and trying murdering all his neighbors. Vladimir Putin, there's a good example, real time, real life. Actually, it'd be interesting to see whether Winnie the Pooh heads down that road. He should, if he's any normal, historical dictator. But that is the example of the right wing, and basically spending every fucking penny he has. Hitler did the same thing on more tanks, more aircrafts, more bombs that don't really do anything. And the sad part about it is once the war is over, most societies actually go into a major depression because all of that military spending, which kept the economy going, all of a sudden is gone. And then the economy just heads into a vacuum. That's what happened in the early 1920s following the First World War. It's what happened at the end of the Second World War. And they had to create the Marshall Plan to try and prop up Western Europe because Stalin was going to drive his tanks all the way to the Atlantic. And you could argue that, half of the reason why the Soviet Union lasted as long as it did was no internal economic engine. They just lived off the spoils of the war. They literally, like, anything that was not, even if it was bolted down, it was unbolted, picked up, and sent from Eastern Germany. And all of the, Romania was a Germany ally. Austria was a Germany ally. Although I think Austria kind of dodged a bullet, but Hungary, of course, was a German ally. Any of those resources in any of those countries, everything was picked up and sent back east to Moscow. And that's how a lot of people say that the reason why the Soviet Union lasted as long as it did was because they were just living off the spoils of the Second World War. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. I'm not quite sure how Brian went down this tangent, but the point here is I think that history is repeating itself. And, actually, I probably should update this chart. Like I said, Newmont did crank its way all the way up to the 50% level and now is gapping violently lower. And I think we're in this phase here now where I think you could make the argument if Mr. Trump wins this election, there should be two or three things that should happen. Number one, the impetus for further tax cuts to U.S. corporate America should probably catch a bid. And what that really should do is it should light a fire in the US Congress to finally stop spending the money that it doesn't really have. And Mr. Trump, I think, is probably going to make that situation even worse. So you might see in the short term deficits go screaming higher as he talks about wanting to cut taxes. The one problem with this economy right now is the US is spending money right now like it's actually in a depression. The US government is spending something, their current spending is something like 7% budget deficits, 7% to relative to GDP, which is stupid. You're only supposed to do that in like Great Depressions when the economy has collapsed. The only reason why they did that, of course, was because George Bush Jr. tax cuts, Trump tax cuts, basically gutted the U.S. government tax revenue. And ironically enough, all Cami really wants to do is just reinstate those taxes. Warren Buffett has famously said, does it make sense that my secretary has to pay a higher tax rate than I do? The sad part about it for Cami is she's such a poor communicator. This would actually be a pretty easy message to sell to the public. Look at all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the tax base back to the way it was before you had all these Republicans come in and just basically give huge tax breaks to the 1%. But she's just not really that good at this job. Frankly speaking, I don't even quite understand how she even got into the position that she's in. And I did hear another guy on Joe Rogan. This guy was really good. I can't remember his name. Terrible at names. He would say that Cami reminds him of Drunk Mom. And Drunk Mom has three different responses. She has the first response where everything's funny and she giggles and she has her cackle, which of course you've heard me, cringe at when I hear that. Then Drunk Mom has she's got another response where she doesn't want to even acknowledge what you said, and she's going to storm off to her bedroom and don't bug me, I'm going to pass out. And then another Drunk Mom line, and I can't remember what the third one was, but it was really funny. And actually, I thought it totally nailed her. Anyway, off on 20 different tangents here. I guess the point I'm trying to make about all this is, ironically enough, I think actually we're heading down very normal path here for this great resetting that they're going to jam down our throats. And the worst part about this is, I don't know whether I can zoom in on this. I always try to zoom in on these damn things and it never works. But, I don't mean to, be a pain in the butt, but we might as well acknowledge reality. This image, acknowledge reality. It's blurry, Brian. Yeah, well, that's trying to predict the markets, I suppose, is a bit blurry. 1944, 2024, notice inflation rate came all the way down to zero, mysteriously. Certainly no deflation. Of course, we're not allowed to have any deflation at all. Thank you, bankster crooks. But notice that that's absolutely the base. And then all of a sudden, numbers started to creep up. And by the time we got to 1947, oh my God, they made the inflation rates from the beginning of the decade look, almost laughable. So that unfortunately is our future, folks. It sucks. But it is reality. Great reset. Get used to it. Excuse me. I suppose the one good part about this, of course, is, as market participants, we should be able to invest in assets that offset all this. And that's the whole point of having a little bit of gold on the books, having a little bit of silver, and of course, maybe having a little bit of Bitcoin on the books, or, crypto proxies, maybe Bitcoin ETFs. It is interesting to see how they've gotten to the point where Bitcoin itself is probably at a price that most of the people in the public can't really justify. I can't go and buy with Bitcoin $60,000, $70,000 a coin. So probably actually buying Bitcoins themselves is probably completely beyond the public's ability. And so they will be conveniently funneled into participating in the Bitcoin space through the ETFs. And I mean, what the hell? Fink's Bitcoin ETF right now is what, about 30, $40 a share. So they're not even going to really understand what quote unquote value is in that type of environment. They're just, and you ever listen to Fink talk about Bitcoin? He never talks about value. The only thing he ever talks about is, well, I'm all about hope. Whatever the fuck that means. And as a digital gold, all that kind of talk. I've still repeatedly made the case that I don't think we're anywhere near value. I do like the idea that value on Bitcoin is probably somewhere around 20, 30,000 bucks, which in itself is a very, very high number. Well, I hate to say it. I know we have one site member who does mine himself. And I suppose for the individual, you put all the costs together to keep a rig up and running and operational. And, maybe it is, north of 20, 30, $40,000. I have seen and I've read, crypto company sort of, quarterly reports where they show that their cost of production for Bitcoin prior to this most recent halving was under $10,000. And if we just do the simple math, 10,000, and I remember this one report I read a couple of years ago said that their average cost was around $8,000 or $9,000, which would make sense why Bitcoin actually bottomed out around 15, 16 grand. That actually makes sense. Very rarely do assets actually trade below cost of production. I do remember, but you have to be in sort of the absolute trough of an anti-commodity cycle to see that. And a really good example of that is the silver market from back in the 1990s. So maybe it's worth our while to take a boo at that. And oh, by the way, I'm starting to get fills. I think I told everybody in the public I had about 20 buy orders all working on these various different shit coins that I want to load up for this coming cycle. And I've been filled on so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stink bids. And actually, I just recently got filled on this BAT. Oh, look at it. It's coming off my level as we speak. Tell you, I love this 78.6 level. It's just my bread and butter. And actually, one I thought I was going to get a fill here. And my bid is at, and actually, it's yeah, and it's not even at 21. I think it's at like 1206. Which, and the reason why I put it in was because, speaking of Brian's favorite fibs, 1206, does it make sense why Brian would want to bid 1206 there? So this one was interesting. It dumped down to a low of 1218, and they probably saw my retail order there and went, no, we're not going to give this fucker a fill. Screw him. And keep in mind that's very typical in this shitcoin market space. But I hope you all understand, and I think this is an important lesson for all of you to realize. If you do actually consider playing in this highly speculative, highly manipulated space, keep in mind venture cap. And I don't think a lot of people in the market actually even understand this. This is an unregulated market space. Is it likely that they're going to fuck around with this? Is it likely that 90% of the orders that you see on this order book are actually bullshit? Yes. And the sooner you realize that, the better. What really bothers me about this crypto space is that people actually believe that, I mean, look at our political situation. You can't even trust what's being reported by governments and things like labor statistics. You think you can actually trust what you're seeing on here is actually real business? I thought it was interesting. There was one gentleman in our TRI lounge that was saying, well, look at the volumes, compare the volumes between previous cycles and what's going on now, and the price patterns and stuff. And actually, one OG on the site chimed in, and if anything, I just sort of confirmed it what he said. Keep in mind, half of the reason why the US wouldn't float these ETFs is because they knew that like 80-90% of the volume reported in this space is bullshit. It is utter lies. Have we not had the conversation about what you're supposed to think when it comes to Chinese and capitalism? If you get fucked over by a Chinese capitalist, whose fault is it? You better learn this today. And actually, I haven't even been looking at the YouTube page. I want to pull this up. I asked that question, and I want to see every single person watching this video answer this question on the chat now, because this is critical. This is not, oh, sign up for my course and I'll teach you how to buy Bitcoin at 70 grand and not just buy and hold. You can't do. This is real capitalism. This is real commentary that's trying to help you. Jojo asked me, Brian, you have the potential to make a positive difference in this world. And this kind of conversation is helping you make a positive difference in your life so you don't go and make stupid mistakes in the marketplace. So, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to load up this page. I haven't even been looking at the YouTube page. I've just been talking to myself here for the past half hour. And I want to see every single one of you answer this damn question. If you are dealing with a Chinese person, and this is the worst part about it, because you don't want to be labeled some racist, but fuck, this is the way society works in China. If you are dealing with a Chinese capitalist and you get fucked over by them, whose fault is it in China? Who gets blamed as the bad person and the idiot and the fool and the jerk? You as the public. How many people are watching this? 50 people. Oh, look at that. We just lost 3 people because the Chinese lovers all went, oh, fuck this guy. But you have to understand this, folks. And I'm actually a little surprised. I want to see you actually type this, or you might as well just leave. And of course, well, the marketing department says, Brian, don't say that. Don't say that. What do you say? You have to understand what you're dealing with here, people. This is venture capital. It's an unregulated space. And you have to understand that if somebody wants to steal your money and you have it stolen from you, it is your fault. And they don't give a fuck. In fact, they even chuckle to themselves. They snicker to themselves. Oh, look at the little sucker. What a punk ass bitch. You better understand that. You better understand that when you actually pull up like an order book like this, 80-90% of this could be just total bullshit. That's venture capital for you. Hey, look at that. We lost a few more people. Awesome. So, and that is trying to help you as individuals. So get used to it, folks. Anyway, so what do? I actually love this kind of market state. This is exactly what I want to see. Let's see if any of you can actually answer this. We should be, and we'll give you the easy part first, selling when Gucci sweater wearers are what? And we only buy when Gucci sweater wearers are what? Sure hope you understand this. Wearers have apostrophe in it. Take a screenshot of that. Something like that. So you should be selling when Gucci sweater wearers are doing what? Very good, Nick. I mean, the point here is I have people, and actually they're there. They just said hello. Wearers, I can't spell to save my soul. Colin. But I have people here who are brought to me by good people. They are literally brought to me as referrals because some people say, you know what, this guy Brian Beamish actually is doing what his wife asked him to do. He's not trying to bullshit you. He's not trying to steal your money. He's trying to actually get you thinking correctly in the marketplace, which is like pulling teeth. And the problem is that if you actually want to make money from trading, I don't know whether you can or not, whether you will or not, but if you want to, you must learn this. You must. You have no choice. There you go. Well, I appreciate you. So, and really the way it goes, like when I would sit down with my clients, right? I would say, all right, so we want to be buying when Gucci sweater wearers are crying. And we want to be when Gucci sweater wearers are yelling, buy Bitcoin, buy my $5,000 course, blah, blah, blah. That's when we want to be selling. So I don't know whether you can teach yourself this. This is the reason why I teach using tools like Fibonacci ratios. I mean, quite literally, what this is saying is that this asset has just now taken an 80% haircut or 78.6. 80% haircut. Very good, Jim and Liz. And I don't know who it is I'm speaking to. That'd be funny if I was actually speaking to one of your kids. I remember you had a daughter who kind of got beat up on Doge, if I'm not mistaken. I sure hope she's learned. But anyway, so this is the whole point of this, is that I'm interested when this thing has fallen 80% from its peak. That's a market I'm interested in. And, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. This is the best part about this little old lady nanny nibbles strategy is I'm not going to go and bet the farm on anything, but I'll just go and throw a few $100 and just work stink bids. And you can see slowly but surely I'm getting my fills. They're coming in here. I'm not going to try and pick a bottom here. Not interested in that whatsoever. Just slowly accumulating now that we are at or below reload zones. This is just what I do. And the interesting thing is I've only gotten like 5 orders filled. Look how many markets I still have to buy. I mean, there are tons of them that I'm just waiting on. And I thought, for the purposes of this show, I thought I was going to be able to show you I got another fill here, but no, teases, bastards. And I've even got more ideas that either the community has posted or I've been alerted to. Hey, this is a pretty interesting idea, and I'm more than happy to buy down at the bottom ends of ranges. So in a weird sort of way, I'm actually rooting for weakness right now. I like this. This is exactly what I want to see. And now here's an interesting note for you. I don't know whether you've ever heard this one before. If you've never heard the buying when crying, selling when yelling, well, maybe write that one down. Did I have that on I think I had it on, was it this one? Maybe it was this one. Yeah, there it is. All right. So you should take a screenshot of this. I mean, maybe we'll get rid of the snarky idiot fool guy over there selling stupid Bitcoin courses for $5,000. So when we'll say selling when the public and then buying when the public is crying. So take a screenshot of that. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have that in there. I mean, really, all I want you to do is just learn this. The next one that I think is super important is this is this line, and just for the record, because I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm like borrowing this off other people. This line is specifically, I learned this from a guy named Dennis Gartman. And he took it from another guy. Actually, I think it might even come from Gartley himself, you know. But Gartman, too many G's. We used to read the Gardy letter like literally every single day, and it was right across all brokerage houses. They'd all get the Gartman letter. He was on CNBC for a while, but as with anything in the market, what ends up happening is you go through sort of periods where, hey, this guy's message is kind of new, and he seems to be hitting the nail on the head. And as long as you just keep calling markets perfectly, then the public absolutely loves you. You make one bad call, and then all of a sudden the public hates you. And then CNBC says, well, you know, Tide laundry detergents saying that the ratings when Gartman come on are falling, and they don't like that. So please do not invite Mr. Gartman back on the show. And that's the way the game goes. I've seen that happen to at least a dozen different guys, but really, you know, people that I respect immensely in the market, they did this to them. So like guys like Gartman, they did it to. John Bollinger, I know a lot of you are fans of John Bollinger and Bollinger Bands. They did exactly the same thing to him. And unfortunately, the simple message about this game, which you must learn, and I don't know whether you can or not, you will never be right 100% of the time. Never. And don't ever get into thinking that you will be right 100% of the time, because that's usually what kills most noobs at this game. Is they get married to an idea, and then they just ride that idea into the ground, and if it goes to zero, it goes to zero. And that's the end of them. You never hear of them again. And what's so sad about this business too, especially with like social media and the way that the public sort of circle jerks on these platforms, and I really don't think that this social media thing has done our society any favors whatsoever. I think it's actually made it much, much worse. But anyway, nobody is ever held to an account over them being wrong. Do you ever, should this Gucci sweater wearer guy, we've all seen the video. I mean, he must have had 100 guys there in his room there. Do we ever hear any follow up about how any of those people feel? About the $5,000 that they spent on learning how to invest in Bitcoin at 70 grand. I don't, and that was what, like, 8-9 months ago? I don't think so. So anyway, the second tidbit for you. I like that DDBB. If there were Gucci tier futures, bid up Gucci tier futures. The problem in this world, though, and especially if you live in jurisdictions outside of the West, is, my God, you could actually end up dead very quickly. It might be worthwhile checking in on Mr. Gucci sweater wearer to see if he's even still alive. That's how dangerous this world is. DDBB. Oh, so you're a buddy of Random Task? I didn't know that. Oh, there you go. Actually, I enjoy having you on the site, DDBB. If anything, it's beautiful watching the amount of time and effort that you put into this. And that's why when you were joking the other day, oh, I'm never going to get rich this, I'm like, fuck you. Just wait till you get to a bull market and you'll be making more money than all of us put together. Yeah, I did. Colin here, he's written. I don't know, Colin. I mean, I appreciate, this is what makes a horse race. I will say you are, let's put it this way, you are enthusiastic about your positions. Me, I'm the type of guy that I don't really get married to any position too closely. 5% risk and all that, right? And so as a result, I'll never go out of business. But as a result, too, you're not likely to see Brian driving Lambos down the road. My net worth just slowly climbs higher day by day by day, collecting my interest and collecting my dividends and all that kind of fun stuff. And the good part about it is that we're now back into the part of the cycle where I want to get active and I want to get involved and I want to get in on the buy side. So this one as just one example, and there's a bazillion of them. We don't necessarily have to use this one. In fact, actually, I really like Decentraland. This is a great story because, and actually, I'd be curious to see whether this audience even knows the answer to this. But who's the celebrity that's all wrapped up in this story? So if you like these celebrity stories, there's another one. Well, actually, I don't even know if there are too many celebrities wrapped up in crypto. I mean, I sadly, a lot of the celebrities that get wrapped up in crypto, they end up getting washed out. I don't even know whether she's still even in the story or not. But this is just off of, oh, and it doesn't even show. God, I hate that about this space. Drives me nuts. Where can we? Probably over there on Binance. And this doesn't even have the whole history because these guys go way back. Oh yeah, see, look at that. They don't have anything here. Oh, this is so frustrating. But anyway, where probably maybe Stamp. They might have some data. Really? Stamp only had Decentraland listed since 2022? Doesn't make any sense. Maybe we better look at it versus Bitcoin or something. I mean, this thing's been around. God, I remember buying this thing billions of years ago. Maybe versus Bitcoin, we can see some more history. There you go. That's going all the way back to 2018. But this is the Hilton girl. What's her name? Frankfurt Hilton? No, London Hilton, something like that. Anyway, this is a perfect example where nobody's talking about Decentraland now at all, right? Hey, there you go. Kevin knows her name. That's just being. I'm gonna call her Tokyo Hilton from now on. One of my favorite names for a band I ever heard was I think it's called the Tokyo Police Club or something like that. It's such a cool name for a band. But this is a perfect example where do you think that the people that went and bought oh, is that even better? All right, so you're saying look at it versus Mana versus USD on Gemini. Gemini, no, this one here. All right, let's see what you got here. Hey, there you go. Perfect. Sweet. Nice. But that only goes back to 2020. I remember playing Decentraland back on Trex. So I don't think that this is all the data. And if anything, this is another major criticism I have of this space is I hope you realize that you're being played by these exchanges and stuff only listing data for these kind of names back to here. Because keep in mind, this was actually the top of the market. I mean, God, we started, like I said, man, it's been around forever. Actually a really good example, and I don't even know if it's even still trading, but you remember all those porno coins? Where the hell did they all go? But what was the one I made an absolute killing on one of those porno coins? I think it was XVG. I think I remember it was one of these. Verge, I think that's what it was. The problem is where can you find one that actually has all the data going back? Poloniex actually would be a really good one. They've been around forever. Is Poloniex even here anymore? Oh, look at that. Poloniex is gone. So I don't even know how you get the data from way back when on this stuff anymore. Huh, isn't that interesting? Phoenix has been around forever, but I don't know whether they'd actually have Bybit actually, I think has been around for quite a while, but here, let's see what's, hey, there we go. So this is going back. Yeah. So this is actually when I booked all my profits. So isn't that interesting how you can't even see the origins of this trade? Tell you, this crypto space is awfully sketchy, very sketchy. I do like the fact that if you are, maybe Binance has a bit more history. No, I mean, there's just nothing here. It's so hard to actually do any half decent analysis on this stuff anymore. And I hate to say it, but I do think half the reason why this is like this is done on purpose. Venture cap want to get you all excited on the way up, get you all thinking you're going to be millionaires. Just hold on to this shit. In fact, I was even thinking about this. I've now gone through 3 generations of TRIers. And what's fascinating is the participants at the very top of the cycle. When I was touring around Europe, there were a number of ones, and that was in 2017. It was 2017 or 18. So through that like Verge cycle peak. And it's incredible. I can't even show you this, which is so sad. Maybe if I get rid of that, maybe I can see some more. Then I got all this stuff. I don't know. That's not going to help. Anyway, there was a whole bunch of market participants. Like we did big group photos and stuff like that. God, I don't see any of those people around the site anymore. A lot of them. There's one gentleman out of Austria. He was when I went and visited him in yeah, I guess it was Austria. He unequivocally said, "Thanks, Brian. You made me a millionaire. So awesome." Then the market broke, and of course, um, I don't even know hear from him anymore. I have no idea whether he held on to any of the money at all. So I do see this is the third iteration of this. Same thing that last cycle had a bunch of people that came on the site. And unfortunately, I had to sort of say, the next few years, it's going to be a big hurry up and do nothing. So here we are. We're back at the base of one of these big face rip move up sort of event windows. Be very curious to see whether I end up knowing many of you that are here now 3 or 4 years from now. That'll be really interesting to see. But I do notice that the one thing that's absolutely consistent about this is you're going to have a whole new sort of group of people that will come into this space that have never heard of crypto before, have no idea of the past stories. Like I said, we were talking in the lounge today, it was common knowledge like 5 or 6 years ago that China actually faked most of the data, most of the volume. It was, and the US regulators publicly said this. There's no way we're going to float one of these Bitcoin ETFs because most of the volume you see out of China is total fraudulent. It's actually just outright blatant lie. And of course, my commentary about China and investing in China, you better understand what you're getting involved in here, folks. And if you don't, leave this shit alone because they're sitting there just chomping at the bit to steal your money from you people. I hope you're aware of that. Now, what's the way that you can avoid all of this altogether? Well, don't chase. Don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I have no idea whether these names are going to survive. My hunch is most of these names that I'm buying into right now, I mean, I can't show you the Verge because it doesn't exist anymore. But most of these names that I'm buying into here, they've been around at least a couple cycles. I mean, fucking, is Cripple going anywhere? I don't think so. I mean, it might go up or blah, 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 the shill, whatever. I mean, I remember there was one guy on social media last year. I think it was about a year or two ago. Man, every single post, Cripple's going to the man, Cripple's going to the man, Cripple coming. All I would simply say is, when the market does come back down to the bottom end of the range, force yourself to come in on the buy side. You can see, I'm just patiently waiting. I'll be more than happy to pick some of this stuff down in reload zones. Business as usual. And then, of course, when the public comes in and they act all stupid and these damn markets go parabolic, Brian will be banging on doubles and all that kind of fun talk. It's business as usual. So, like I said earlier, I'm actually tickled pink by seeing this. This is exactly what I want to see. What's interesting is there are some names that I'd like to buy that I can't even get in on, and I'm not going to buy a futures contract over on Kraken. But I'll keep an eye on him, see how he does. But I think that if anything interesting loom, as sort of all of you following the market, and I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this conversation, but I hope some of you are getting some value out of this. Oh yeah, there was something I was supposed to mention to you. Hey, there's Poloniac. So actually Polo still exists. Just to show you how long things like cripple or loom here. Hopefully you look at this and go, well, I can understand why Brian would want to come in here and buy down here. But I can absolutely tell you, don't be the sucker that comes in and buys up here. Just don't do that. That's sadly, this is somebody would be interesting. This one in particular, I guess it was right in here. Gucci sweater wearers were coming out with their big shills, right? And all through this window, all through here. So if anything, the good part about Loom is it usually moves first. I've just seen this repeatedly with this Loom. It's a fantastic leading indicator in this crypto space. I remember I think it was 2016. You can't even see this data over here, which is such a piss off. But I seem to remember, maybe actually you might even see it versus Tether over there. Yeah, there goes that shit. But Loom often moves ahead of the rest of the space. Anyway, that's here and there. So the point here is I've got lots of stuff I want to buy, and I'm even adding to my shopping list, but I'm not in a hurry, and I'm not going to chase. Just slow and steady wins the race. And if anything, what I kind of want, and of course you're not going to like hearing this, I actually would like to see a bit more weakness, like serious weakness in some of these bigger ones. Like an Ethereum, there's Brian's favorite fib. Why would this be any different than anything else? It's the same shit, just a different pile. So A, B, C, D, 78.6 is Brian's favorite fib. 88.6, if you want to get really aggressive, Julian's favorite fib. Although you notice sometimes that 88.6 just doesn't get traded to. But the bottom line here is I actually have bids working to buy Ethereum, to actually invest in Ethereum down here. Just everything that I teach all of you. Why would it be any different for my own personal portfolios? I mean, I'd be the utter and complete hypocrite if I actually said, oh, yeah, fine, I'll go and invest in Ethereum here. But you're supposed to be really buying reload zones. So, yeah. And I also think it's super, super important here, folks. Super important. And hopefully what you see here, and actually maybe, site members, if I do actually buy anything, and keep in mind, over the past 6-8 months, I haven't bought much. In fact, probably a lot of people who are site members who are like looking at Brian's trades rooms are like, I'm getting ripped off here, man. The guy's not posting anything. Well, because frankly speaking, I didn't like anything. So if I don't like it, there's no fucking way I'm going to spend my money on it. But what I wanted to show you was, where's Brian's trades? On the Discord channel, of course, anytime I do anything in the market, I'm more than happy to tell you. And, hopefully our admin staff is updating these trades as they come in. That's what I asked the team to do. And we'll see how that goes. But I post every single trade that I do in here. And interestingly enough, now I'm actually posting buy orders getting filled. Keep in mind, there was a long period of time when all it was sell orders, not doing any buying at all. So here's some nice sell orders. And really, this is the exact opposite. So obviously in Solana land, banging out doubles and the shit coins, having a lot of fun in that. Is there any value in this shit coin? I doubt it. Understand what you're getting involved with here, people. This is what really scares me about this, especially when people come into this space and go, I'm investing in crypto. What are you on drugs? There's no fucking, this is not, especially if you're buying like Solana names, there's no investing. This is all speculation. Come on. Now, having said that, can you speculate correctly and actually follow the process and actually expect to make money speculating in the market? Absolutely. But what you have to do is force yourself to actually come in on the buy side when the public, of course, is dying 1,000 deaths, and all they're talking about is how awful this space is, and I'm suing and call my lawyer and all that. When I hear that kind of stuff, that's when I want to get interested in. Cool. Oh, you smart ass. Now, I mean, I suppose, what would be really interesting is to actually figure out what the fundamental value of these shit coins actually is. And I bet it would shock people when they actually saw what the fundamental value of these things is. Keep in mind, there was a guy last spring when this whole Solana space was going crazy. There was a guy in this space who actually showed you how to like literally create a meme out of nothing. And he like did like troll with hat or something like that, and it was just a picture, and then create the coin and do all of the funding and locking in all the Solana coins and everything, and then instantly the market cap of his coin, troll with hat, had $1 million market cap just out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, this is real fundamental stuff. Yeah, okay, sure. Come on. It drives you crazy. Anyway, here's the Solana image here right now. Actually, interesting image. Um, Kind of like Bitcoin. I mean, it's hanging in there. You can see where reload zones are, ironically enough, for a name like Solana. I could actually see, there's no reason why we can't dip down into here. I mean, you hopefully can all see this thing's got a big M all over it. If we start breaking down through these lows, then that means the M's confirmed. It just is what it is. So, am I going to come to you and say that I think that Solana is a value proposition here? No. Could this be a momentum trade? Where how do we do this? We can go, the bot setup. You probably heard me talk about that before. So template, good old but. Have we done 30? It's always backwards. Have we done a 33% retracement to a 66% retracement? Yeah. So it's cleaned up the excess of whatever this move is. And then, and I think that's what this study is. If this is a momentum trade, not talking value, just talking pure price momentum, then that is what this image is. So this is what we call a harmonic pattern. This isn't necessarily a harmonic trade. We don't want to confuse the two. This momentum trade is kind of like a bastardization of harmonics, but nonetheless, it's totally valid. So could we trade this from a momentum perspective? And go long from the bot entry level. And do we have one higher low, two higher lows, three higher lows? So we got lots of these sort of whales who stop the selling and put a bottom in the market. Can we let them defend our trade and we'll put our stop loss order right below all of them? And literally, we are just simply trying to ride the inertia of the market. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to understand that if you are going to play this setup and we break through this low, you got to admit that there is no more momentum trade. And if you've got a bit of money on the line, you better go into capital preservation mode and start smartening up. And that is what the conversation almost nobody wants to have in this space. Everybody wants to talk about, hey, I'm going to buy this. In fact, actually, I was even thinking about this. This is probably a really, actually, you know what? I didn't even finish that other thought. So just to finish off that other thought that I had with you guys, and then somebody remind me and I'll come back to this. But what time of year is it seasonally? Is this a time of year that we should actually be thinking about assets coming into buying windows? How does that expression go? This is a pretty good example of one. I love this. This has got me written all over it. So, and actually, even on the Bitcoin chart, I even have this, and it's written right here. I wonder if any of you even notice this here. What are we supposed to be doing this period of the market? Actually, that's not now. That's way out here. Here we are. This is right now. Here. What does this say? So, and then the question you have to ask yourself is, remember, this stuff is seasonal, which means that it has been securitized. There's no accident. The stuff all works in conjunction, folks. I sure hope you understand that. So, does it not make sense that they've got quite a bit of FUD in the marketplace right now? Right? And what does FUD stand for? Fear, uncertainty, doubt. Well, I think that this Trump guy, he's going to lead us all to ruin. But what usually happens around this time of year? I don't know whether you can see that or not. Right there. But geez, that doesn't look very readable. What's supposed to happen here? And yeah, I can see a lot of you. And yeah, Jim and Liz, this is probably a good education for you guys. You probably new at this. But I see a bunch of people that are 2014 and you're still wanking. Wow, that's pretty good. 10 solid years of jerking the, how does it go? Jerking the jerkin? Something like that. 10 years. Wow, damn, that's impressive. So hopefully you can see that this actually, it's ironically enough, just following the very normal seasonal pattern. I suppose you could even make the argument. Look at this 2023, October, November, right? And then we said that the easy part of this, well, I didn't say easy, but anyway, I'll add it to the conversation. Something along those lines, right? Buy when it snows. And then how does the other side of this go? You know, this is the stuff that, okay, well, it's actually worth listening to this guy because believe it or not, he actually says stuff that can help me not get fucked over in the marketplace, right? And that's the whole point of this. So if we are supposed to buy when it snows, and, you know, shout out to Don Valu, who taught me this. Oh, God. Easily, geez, 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. Sell when it goes. And, you know, the simple lesson for you is, why does the market work this way? I hope you can understand, ironically enough, I mean, it's kind of tragic, but when is usually the public poorest? Ironically enough, their pockets are drained by the time we get into sort of, especially into like the end of the year. This one actually wasn't so bad because the bottom actually came in. Like you could actually argue, I guess the end of October, that's where the breakout was, eh? But you could even just do things like draw like reload zones. See whether you can try and sneak your way in. Nice mountain man tag there. Probably was also, well, not quite there. But if anything, really good example there of the tax loss selling window into the beginning of the year. Nice dump into that event. But the point here is usually the public is kind of they're not very wealthy through this part. And I would also argue too that this name, all of 2023 coming into the end of the year, my hunch is that anybody who bought this, I mean, only these people who bought right here were actually up at this point. So a lot of people are sitting on losing positions. They end up just, selling them, book the capital loss. I've got capital gains elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. And then conversely, based on the tax system, right? When is the public actually feeling most wealthy? Right, when they get their big income tax refunds in usually, April, May. So you often find that the market is bid up. And of course, we also have things like registered account contribution deadlines, all that kind of event. If you are going to invest, I don't know whether this asset in itself is subject to this, but crypto is becoming more mainstream. And I see a lot of places like Interactive Brokers shilling crypto now. You can even buy crypto in your registered retirement accounts and stuff on a lot of these US brokerage platforms. So it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of this is subject to that as well. But also, too, think of all the stocks that are related around this space. These assets get bid up as people, through January, February, March, and all that, getting all excited about the market. But they don't understand is that they're actually walking into a trap. And you have to learn somehow to avoid this trap like the plague. So, ironically enough, the fascinating thing about this is this should be now when all of those social media people are pounding the table for you to get in there and buy these speculative assets. Isn't that ironic? I'd be curious. Give me some feedback, DMAC and DDBB and, the likes of you over there on YouTube. Cole, if you're still here. Do you hear a lot of crypto shill right now in social media? Do you hear anybody crypto shilling right now? And how ironic, all Beamish is talking to you about is, I want to buy, give me more red, more red. I mean, all of these green mean I have stink bids working, but I'm not paying the market price. I want, I buy when you people are panicking, dumping and selling because you think that there's no money to be made in this and you're always going to be left behind. So I better get out now before it goes to zero. And the sad part about it is what you don't understand is you are basically selling into the bottom end of a trading range. It's remarkable how consistent this shit is. And I don't know, does this BAT have a future? BAT is these guys. They even got the reward earned tokens for private ads you see in Brave and all that. That's what these guys are. Do you think that this is going anywhere? Do you think it's going to be here 6 months from now? Clearly it will be. I don't see any reason why this would be going anywhere. It's just fascinating how, this is the only, and actually this is a really, really, and think this kind of line here. Let's see if Jim and Liz can figure out the answer to this. I got to put you on the spot here because this is super important concept. And if you can recite this to other people, you are way ahead of the curve. So how does this line go? This is the only business that when stuff goes on sale, how does the rest of this line go? Do you even know how this goes? And if you really want to be a capitalist, you really want to make money from trading, you have to know this. You have to understand this. This is the way these stupid humans work. Cool. This is the only business when stuff goes on sale. Who can actually finish this statement? Chris, can you finish this statement? Do you know how this goes? Very good, Simone.
Well,
I
I'm
didn't
sorry. Did
say.
you actually want me to answer that one? Sorry.
Well, I don't feel like I'm talking to myself for fucking 3 hours. Holy shit, an hour and 20 minutes just disappeared. How the hell did that happen? Okay, I don't know. I sure hope you guys get this. I mean, take a screenshot of this. The bottom line here is I'm in here buying. I'm taking advantage of all of the public's weakness. I'm taking advantage of their disparity. I'm taking advantage of their depression. I'm taking advantage of their, the way that the public always acts. It sucks, but it's just the way that they always act. Now, the answer is this is the only business that when stuff goes on sale, and I want you to write this out, Jim and Liz, or whoever it is that's on the computer using that name. No one wants to buy. That's the answer I was looking for. And it's kind of tragic because keep in mind, Wall Street and the whole capitalist machine here, do they do well if you sell here? Because keep in mind, when you buy 9 times out of 10, remember I told you at the beginning of this conversation, who do you think these people are that are working all these orders? Do you think that this is actually like retail customers in here? It isn't. This is all bullshit. My hunch here is that if we took out all of the algos and all of the, I watched one guy, his name was Alex Stirk, years ago. He got hooked up with one of these, and actually, it's kind of funny because in essence, these two images actually work in conjunction. Because they're the people that are running this order book and trying to con you into thinking that this is actually a real market are actually this guy, which is so tragic, but it's the truth. They are this guy. And the reason why I have this picture on my Twitter feed is because you have to understand that if you get involved in the crypto space, you are going to war with this guy, and he will do everything he possibly can to take your money. Everything he possibly can, including blatantly lying to your face. He has no problems whatsoever doing that. It disgusts me as a human. And this is probably why I will never get like uber insane rich in this world. I'll do okay. And I think Spirit is happy with the job that I'm doing, trying to help you guys. But the point you have to understand, especially Jim and Liz, right? You have to understand that these are the guys that are actually running this order book. Now, if you use the principles that I try and teach you, you actually use this information against them and you take advantage of their stupidity. Because keep in mind, this guy isn't that smart. Ironically enough, maybe he's pretty good in front of a computer terminal, but when it comes to life skills, he actually gets played by the Peter Finks or Larry Fink or whatever that guy's name is. He gets played by them. He gets used by people like Fink. DDBB. There's a line. BB, you can't retire at peak top next year because public will be interested in your courses at that point. You can never stop. Well, isn't that the way the cliche goes? I mean, the irony of this business is this website and this whole business is actually entirely based on these cycles. Entirely. So when is going to be the greatest demand to come and learn? Well, Brian, I want to stop being a retail schlub and actually start making money from trading. The irony of it is that this place will be going crazy at the very top of the next cycle. You're absolutely right, DDBB. You are 100% right. Interesting how that's not loading. There we go. The funny thing is, though, that when people come to this, the very first thing that I'm going to tell them, actually, this would be interesting to see whether, and I don't know whether you got this message, DDBB, when you first came in here, but you tell me, what is the very first thing that I tell every single person to do when they come to TRI and they actually sign up? Put your something away. Oh, well, that's a nice comment. Thank you, Jim and Liz. Appreciate it. Yeah. Simone. Do I pronounce your name Simone? Simeon? I don't know how to pronounce your name. FET and BNT. I mean, the irony of it all is that I'd be willing to bet that if I pulled up either of those names, I'd say, you know what? I wouldn't mind stepping in and picking some of that up. But that's the way smart money plays. What if I told you, Jim and Liz? Let's see if you can answer this real quick. Just give it a little time for YouTube to catch up. I'm trying to teach you how to be what type of market participant? Am I trying to teach you how to be the public? Thank you, Adam. Put your wallet away. And hey, Jim and Liz, were you well served by me telling you to put your money away last February and just learn? Take a year to learn? Simeon, long time. You still say it wrong. Oh, I have for the past 10 years. But I'm sorry, dear. Love you clearly. I don't know. You get some mental blocks on some names, and I don't know whether to say Simon or Simeon or Simeon. You know what I thought was so cool was I saw a ballet teacher. This was great. Teaching people, a football coach was teaching his football team ballet, and he had two lines, and it was a funny commercial. And it was like, I can't remember how it goes, but it's like two classic football words, like, oh, damn, I can't remember. I got to find the commercial. It's so perfect because it just goes to show different ways you can pronounce names. All right. So you're fed here. Let's see. Is this FET versus USDT? US versus artificial super intelligent. Oh boy. Oh, is this the reorganized coin? Is this the coin that was made out of Ocean and I can't remember the other ones. Is it? I think that's what this is, isn't it? Yeah, well, this thing's gonna do perfectly fine. Is it? Yeah, I mean, well, here's a perfect example. I mean, the irony of it all is the chart tells you exactly where to buy. Are we in a reload zone? I don't know. Let's see. Boom. Boom. Oh, isn't that interesting? There's Brian's favorite fib. Look at the cute little W that came in right off of my favorite level. So sadly, unfortunately, no. Actually, I'm sorry. I can't tell you I'd want to buy this right here. No. And actually, it kind of sucks because, our poor old Sjord, love him dearly. Unfortunately, he's living in the absolute fucking socialist, communist center of the universe. And I actually get the impression a lot of Germans kind of like the Chinese model. It's just such a shame. And, like I said, people in fucking Denmark now are talking about, taxing crypto unrealized capital gains. You want to talk about a potion to destroy this space? That'll do it in a heartbeat. And the worst part about this is, I don't know, it's the worst or best, but I distinctly remember, not distinctly remember, this is my course material, that crypto is actually a commodity. So crypto should do really well in the commodity cycle. The fact that we're not in a commodity cycle anymore actually means that crypto should underperform. So the question ultimately here is, can crypto transition from a classic commodity, and that would be the POW model, into a growth story, and like Vitalik's supercomputer and the POS model, where we're just growing the use of the network, and things like gas fees actually dictate the price and the demand for the use of the supercomputer. And frankly speaking, I don't know whether this debate has been settled yet or not. You see clearly my technical objective on Ethereum. I'm looking for price to actually head quite a bit lower on that thing. And you've even heard Vitalik himself talk about how at these prices, and especially when you bid the price up like this, and sadly, of course, that is into that February cycle peak there, February, March, right? Don't chase this shit. You're going to have your ass handed to you. Vitalik comes out and says, stop bidding on my goddamn supercomputer. You're making it unaffordable. So in a weird sort of way, I don't even think Vitalik likes these high prices. Anyway, so, what I was saying there just a second ago, poor old Sjord. I think a lot of this semiconductor space and the whole sort of computerization has gotten a little bit out of control. And interestingly enough, computer stories, I think, actually do really, really well under Democrat presidents. The dot-com boom happened under getting blowjobs in White House Clinton administrations, where these computer and technology guys were just given unfettered control of our society, and they bid prices up to absolutely ridiculous levels. So this is an interesting commentary on whether we actually believe that the Democrats are actually going to lose control of the U.S. government. And I think more importantly is who controls Congress. Because remember, Congress controls the purse strings. Ironically enough, the president of the United States actually doesn't have that much power. So the question here is, does the Senate fall to the Republicans? And if it does, and it looks like that it's heading that way, that might actually be more of an influence as to the direction of the U.S. Government spending and regulation and all that kind of stuff than anything else. So this is really, I think, ironically enough, this is probably more important for us as market participants than screwy Cami. And if anything, you know what the market would absolutely love? The market would absolutely love Cami to win, but the Republicans to take the Senate, and like literally the next 4 years, we have word salad coming out of Cami. She looks like a total doofus, but nothing actually changes. And because the Republicans control the Senate, you curtail all that insane socialism, runaway government spending down in the states, and we get back to a more sort of balanced economy. But what that probably would mean, and I do think that we're actually getting this message out of the marketplace now, is I think the technology stocks are already starting to tell us what they think is likely to happen here. And that is if we go and look at the semiconductor space. Intel, ironically enough, I think is bucking the overall trend in this space. But if we follow something like the semiconductor, this is called the SMH, the SOX index is what it is, the semiconductor index. Who the heck Van Eck is, I don't know where the hell these names come from. But this is the latest house to have paid for the right to be able to list this ETF. But if you look at that chart looks very bothersome. It's not necessarily like the semiconductors are going out of business, but you can clearly see where value is here. And remember, stocks like NVIDIA, Mr. Druckenmiller, he was long NVIDIA like here. and did very, very well on the run up. But he, I think, got out here. So, ironically enough, all of this that you're seeing here, this is actually the public getting involved in the space. The smart money actually exited, and not a big surprise. You can see this is basically where Druckenmiller got out. And you could argue that the 50% level of this entire range is basically where he sold. So this is a very disturbing message if you are a bull of things like Nvidia. And this is also very, very disturbing for names like, unfortunately, that artificial intelligence name that you asked me to look at a second ago, that the newest rendition of Ocean and stuff like that is, you can, I mean, hopefully everybody looks at this and goes, oh, I know exactly where to belong. I should be buying the Wyckoff check. All right, there is the big honking weekly W that I encourage all of you to try and participate in. And if you had bought the weekly W and you had a pretty good window to get along there, you can't say you didn't have an opportunity. That window lasted from November, buy when it snows, right? All the way through to February there. There was a perfectly good window. And the question is, could you have sold half on a double? That's 60 cents? So there is a double right there. It's not, that wasn't too outlandish. What an irony. Market's basically sitting at that level right now. Maybe you sold another half on the double. So at what, 240, 250? Let's say you sold some at 250. So now you bought like $1 here. You sold 50 cents of it here at double your purchase price and got your original money back. Then you sold 25 cents up here, because remember, you only have 50 cents of it left here, but you got another one of your original investments back. So you're now sitting on 200% booked gains, right? So at this point, 200% booked gains. So this is already money made. And you still have an eighth of your original position back on the books. And if this thing keeps going, fine, great, we'll sell another half on a double at the next level, which I guess would be $5 somewhere up top here. But, I mean, obviously the market never went there. Could you take the original capital that you put in here, and now you see reload zones, you see Wyckoff checks? I mean, maybe you're like, that Beamish guy, he's a fool. I'm not going to buy his level. I'm going to buy Julian's level down here. I don't give a shit. The most important thing is what works for you as an individual. So maybe you work your stink bids at 88.6s. If that's what works for you, great, do it, whatever. Take your original capital, and now you are adding your next car. So this is car 1 here. And now the next time you have a buy signal, you add the second car here. And maybe what you do is, instead of working a stink bid, you say, well, Brian, these W's seem to work pretty well. I'm just going to wait for a big honking W to come in to add my second car. I don't care. The more important thing is what works for you as an individual. Obviously, we want to incorporate basic concepts like trade location, right? How does the 3-step setup go? Jim and Liz, I'm going to wait on you to give me the answer, right? 3-step setup. How does it go? What is step 1? And what is the most important thing if you are ever thinking about investing your hard-earned money in the marketplace? And think real estate. Thank you, Kevin. But Jim and Liz are supposed to be answering here. Where did those people go? No. Slow down, you silly Billy. You're going to confuse these people. Thank you. Scotland. Where are Jim and Liz? Very good. The number one thing you always must think of is location. You can actually get number two and number three completely wrong. And as long as you get number one correct, you'll do fine. Can't spell. Location. And really, what we should do is location. And what we should do is location. Okay, now what's reason four? But anyway, that's if you're in the real estate business, right? You and I don't care. You want to use GAN levels? Great. I mean, look at this. We could just simply do something as simple as a trend line. I am only going to buy when we come back and kiss this long-term trend line. And probably the better way to do this is look at it on like a log scale, right? Well, you do a log scale and then your chart goes like that. What the hell is going on? All right, so something like that, right? And I am just going to do nothing more than just draw a trend line off of the lowest lows, right? Boom, there you go. That can be a location tool. So trend line, you can see where we are right now. Of course, this is an absolute mess, but you can see there's the trend line. There's 78.6. Well, it shouldn't surprise us that when we dip down into there, if anything, this image right here tells me that this was a false bottom. We got to come back and kiss this trend line here before this thing is actually really bottomed. But we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. But notice you could use fibs for trade location. You could use simple things like trend lines. I mean, there's a million different ways to skin this cat, folks. A million different ways. But location, 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 always number one. And then, as Kevin pointed out, reason number two should be we want to look at our indicators and we want to see that they are confirming that, yeah, actually being bullish here isn't a bad idea. And then finally, we want to see some price structure to help us frame the trade. Now, the good part about and actually, this is an interesting conversation into itself. What time is it? Oh, I got 10 minutes left here. Fuck. I haven't got enough time. I swear I could probably talk to you guys for like 5 or 6 hours about this stuff. I don't know. Did anybody get any value out of all this? God, I've been blabbing away for an hour and a half here. What do you think, Greg? Glass Insights? Did you get any value out of anything I said here today, or Pixel 6 Pro? We should probably, I think we're probably going to have to leave it at this right now. But, if anything, this is a really good example that what you should be thinking here is I got my original capital out, risk-free trade, blah, 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 and I'm just waiting for that opportunity to reload my second car. That's the important thing that you need to understand here. And that's exactly what I'm doing here, folks. EGLD, great, made some great money on that run. I think it was last year. Banging out doubles. EOS, another one, great run last year. Although this one is kind of a funny one. I think I lost the original coins, but they're around somewhere. ADA, perfect example. Nice bottom, big pops. They'll have on doubles, triples, quadruples. Adding second cars, third cars, fourth cars, whatever. Same thing, this CHR. What a fucking treat that is. I mean, God. The irony of it all this is that this is actually what I'm trying to get you all to think like, and actually I asked this question, but I didn't get an answer. I'm actually trying to get you all to think like institutional investors. Oh, you you want BNT? All right, well, we'll take a look at it. BNT. Let's see what you got. Kraken? Is this where I bought this? Well, the one good part about this is you're not chasing, so you don't have to worry about that. I can't really comment on the fundamentals of this stuff. You know that. Is this an asset that's come back down into the bottom end of the range, and I'd be happy to be adding this to my portfolio? Sure. I don't see anything wrong with this. The question ultimately here is, and I can't answer this just off the top of my head. I suppose we could do some research. If anything, what I would ask is, Lex, if you did all the courses, then you should be grandfathered on the site. Can you go into the daily brief request room and post this in the request room? And then tomorrow in the site video, and remember, folks, if you enjoyed this, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I do like a 2 hour rant like this on the site. Thursdays, we give you Julian. And actually, Julian is embarking on an interesting trading plan of his own. It's not really my style, but I think there are enough TRI elements to his trading plan that it fits within the context of how we want to educate the public on how to participate in the market. So good risk management, multiple reasons to justify acting. Um, he has a relationship with a coder who has some interesting scripts that he likes to sell on TradingView. I probably won't go down the line of shilling any of that stuff, but Julian does like using those scripts. And so over time, if he demonstrates the use of these scripts to make money from trading, then maybe, I've even suggested just maybe have like a referral link. And then that way, if these people do buy the scripts and stuff that you're excited about, TRI gets a small kickback for the purchase of those scripts. All I really want is just to be the demonstrator of best practices. There's a million different ways to skin this cat, but at the same time too, ironically enough, the process never really changes. It's always exactly the same. It's quite remarkable, really. Anyway, as I said, location, indicator confirmation, price structure, go. Don't fuck with it. The model works. Just do it. Okay, to finish off this conversation here on this BNT, I don't mind. We are at the bottom end of the range. We do have location. So the question is, well, you should come on the site and you should put a support ticket. I know all of the lectures are archived on the site, and all alumni should have access to them. But you should have just basic site access, and you should be able to just come into the Discord room and just post in the daily brief request room. And if you can't, then obviously we have to fix your membership. There's something broken about that, because that's my promise to everyone is if you do actually take all of the education programs, then I want to give you a basic site membership indefinitely. You should be grandfathered on the site. So if you're not, please reach out, right? And just let's make sure that you can. So anyway, point of the matter here is, if you're asking my opinion, we have various different risk takers that we teach people. There is one particular type of risk taker. I used to have them as retail clients when I was a stockbroker, that if you put a very small amount of your money to work in any one particular name, just as long as you keep the risk of relative to the size of your portfolio under 5%, then I don't really mind you just making sure to buy good location and just sit on an asset. I think you could make the argument that this has done a Wyckoff check. So we basically come right back down to the bottom and check the original bottom. And right now it's just deciding, am I still legitimate? So from the little old lady, Nanny Nibbles perspective, totally fine with you going and doing small little nibbles, maybe like 1% at a time, maybe once every few months, as long as we are at or below reload zones. Totally fine with that. You want to juice things up a little bit. Our next market participant, call him Joe Sixpack. He's going to try and identify ranges and just simply buy a range. And if we break the bottom end of the range, then you better get the hell out of there if you're buying. So I can clearly see that they've developed a trading range here. So I don't see any reason why you couldn't put like a buy on stop order right above this line, whatever the hell that number is. What does that say? 55.4. Maybe you say, I'm going to buy on stop at 55.5. And then you're going to risk to a break of that low. Since you have defined the exact amount of risk that you're going to take on the trade, then you can actually jack up your participation in the name. But if we break the lows, you better get the F out of there. This is just the way a trader's life goes. And you can see, I mean, look at this one. Look at what they did here. There's the bottom. So you could say, okay, well, I'm going to Joe six pack buy here, going to risk to a break of these lows. And look how they came right down and said, all right, is he going to balk? Is he going to balk? Is he going to balk? Oh, no, everything's fine. And away we go. So you want to wait for that W to come in? Nothing wrong with that. You want to wait for an even tighter W to come in. And then you could even maybe think about our next risk taker, who is the margin trader. And you're going to jack in some serious leverage on this trade, but you're going to buy there. And if we break these lows, you're going to get out there, which means that that's your risk window. But you're taking a leverage trade, which means that this risk obviously is going to be magnified, maybe even the same size risk as this guy, because you're doing like 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 10x, 50x leverage, whatever the hell the case may be. So hopefully, what do you think? Who was that? Lex Fur. Did I give you a good answer there? Do you feel satiated about what Brian would be thinking here about your name and what I would tell people? You asked about this BNT. Hopefully you feel like you got your value there, especially considering how much you paid to watch this video here today. All right. I got 2 minutes left. How many questions were there, Chris? Was there like 45? I'm dead. Probably should wind this video up here. I can take a quick boo at the Q&A document, but if there's a bunch of questions, clearly I can't. Huh? None. All right. It's not interesting. I don't know why this term, very little participation from the students in the Q&A document on all three levels. I'm not even quite sure why. I suppose it's probably a function of this particular cycle, though. I would imagine a lot of people in the public are just, their brains are just absolutely fried right now. So, the irony of it all is that this really, I don't think we should. I mean, if you can do something, if you can, do you understand, Lex, that the public is going to think the absolute worst of this space right now? So if you go on social media and you ask about your BNT, remember, what type of market participant am I trying to turn you into? I'm trying to unpublic you, and I'm trying to get you to be thinking like an institution. Karim says Marat is doing a great job in level 2. Oh, isn't Marat wonderful? God, he is so awesome. I gotta say, our course site instructors are fucking the boss. And actually, I just had an itchy nose, so I'm going to take my hand off of my nose. I'm going to say that again, because they always say if you touch your face when you say something, it's usually a lie. And I don't want that to come across like it's a lie. I love our instructors. These people are beautiful. And in fact, if we had more students, I would retire and let Zach teach the level 3, because I actually think he does a better job than I do. Although he's not really a big fan of 4-hour classes, and I love doing 4 or 5-hour classes. The poor Europeans, it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by the time we finish level 3 class. But I can't think of a better person to teach level 1 than Grim. He is so down to earth. He is so level-headed. He is so calm. He is so what's the word? He's so comfortable in his own skin. And that's what you really need to be. You can't learn unless the teacher who's teaching you is 150% confident in what they do. Do I come across as relatively confident in what I'm trying to bark at all of you? I sure hope I come across as confident. How would you have any confidence in what it is that I'm telling you guys if I didn't have confidence in myself? And hopefully it comes across the way I just talk is like, this is so matter of fact. This is so business as usual. There's nothing new here. Just do this, this, and this, and you'll make all the money you ever need. And then the problem is, of course, when we start going into bull markets, you get those stupid idiots in the public that say, oh, well, don't do what Beamish says. And don't, when your asset doubles in price, don't sell half and create a risk free trade so that you never have to worry about getting fucked by the market. No, go and buy more like a greedy idiot human. We all know who said that, right? Anyway, hopefully it comes across as I'm very, very confident in what I do. Grim, absolute confidence. Absolute confidence. I'm very humble, but Grim takes it to another level, doesn't he? So beautiful. Oh, there you go. Somebody says they've made money with that, so they're thankful. I really, honestly, Lex, and I don't know whether you're at the stage to understand this yet, but I don't really give a shit about your actual returns. I don't care. I have two words. Every single person in this community and every single person listening to me on YouTube and anytime I interact with the public, two words, and they're the only thing that matter when it comes to actually being a good trader. Process, goals. It's the only thing that matters. I don't give a shit how much money you gained or lost. If you show me that you have achieved process goals and you are doing the process correctly, the money will take care of itself. Just show me you know how to behave. All right. Since there aren't any questions on the Q&A document, and if you did have any questions, if you're on the YouTube page and you have some follow-up, Brian, can you please look at this? Can you please look at that? I know there's a couple more people who have asked me to look at some other names. Maybe consider joining the site. I work my ass off, and I have worked my ass off here for the past 10 years in this space, doing what I do day in, day out. Yeah, Karim, you're on the site, so go in the daily brief request room and fire the symbol in there, and I'll be more than happy to look at it tomorrow in the site video. So I don't know whether you got any value out of today's broadcast. I sure hope you did. I think it's a very, very dangerous market state right now. Ironically enough, I think you could actually make the argument for day traders. I think we actually got some interesting short setups that fired there in crypto. We're having a major debate on the site as to whether somebody who shorted this level would have been stopped out on this fuck you move, but it happens. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. What was interesting about this, and I can't talk about this because I got to get going, but actually my hunch here is this setup. I think it's 2-to-1 profit objective. I think it's going to get hit here tonight or tomorrow morning or something like that. Everything here looks like it's pointing down. But what's interesting here, and this is what I think, and it'll be interesting to somebody remind me next Sunday to look at this, because what I think is actually setting up here is a Druckenmiller gold short trade. He did exactly the same trade on gold in the 2016 election. So here was election night. Here was a huge spike in gold on the initial returns. And Druckenmiller was famous for shorting into this rally. And then the market sort of calmed down and it absolutely puked out the next days. And Druckenmiller made a fortune on this trade. Notice reload zones, top of value, into previous M's, gap fills. There's Brian's favorite fib. I suppose you could hunt that, but maybe you might have missed it. Who knows? But I think that they're going to do something similar on Bitcoin here through the election. That's my hunch. And it might even be the point where this gets so volatile, it might be in your best interest as a noob just to leave this alone. This is going to be extremely, it's going to be an interesting Tuesday night. That's for darn sure. Having said that, it smells to me like there is some sort of setup that they're conjecturing here. And I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, is that Bitcoin right now? So they're already starting the counter trend rally. So to me, This is still working its way lower. It is interesting how they did that spike into the original top and then broke it. Was that the trade? I don't know. But I would not be surprised. I don't know. I don't even have it on here. Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if this is where I've got it on my laptop and it drives me crazy when I do this. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's some sort of pop back up top. Nah, I don't have it handy. All right, now I got to get out of here anyway. Actually, here, let's, I think I have it. Weird. It's on my laptop. It's over here, but unfortunately, my laptop isn't connected. Yeah, see, as soon as I did. Oh my God, it's already 7 minutes after. I got to get out of here. All right. So anyway, keep your eyes peeled. Tuesday should be an interesting event. Might even maybe even do like a public video or something Tuesday night as we're watching the fireworks. Yeah, there's not really anything else I can share. I was kind of hoping that I could end with a half decent fun image for you, but I don't have it handy. So I would not be surprised. Let's keep a close eye on how this bad boy does up in that zone right there. So hell, they might even be starting the rally now. Who knows? But my hunch is if there was a zone that I wanted to keep a close eye on for price action, it is between 71 and 72, somewhere in that area there. That's where I think if there's going to be a top that comes in, and keep in mind, right, that could easily, you could see, Tuesday night kind of idea. Where the hell is it? Price range. Even now, right? You could see a good $3,000 rally here, no problem, right out of nowhere. Could easily happen, just like that. So, slow and steady wins the race. Just remember, folks, I am buying weakness. I love this weakness. I'm in there on the buy side, and I'm buying when it's snowing, at least maybe a little bit early on some of these, but you see how many bids I've got working, and I fully plan through November here to slowly accumulate, and I've got stink bids working. I'm not in any hurry here whatsoever, but basically getting ready for the coming bull. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. I have no way to predict what's going to happen here on Tuesday. Let's let the dust settle. If you can acquire names down the bottom of the range, great, go for it. These are all clearly little old lady, nanny nibble type ideas. And a lot of these names are nowhere near buy windows, so I just can't touch them. So, it is what it is. I'll be happy to report on the site anytime I got fills. And you can see I've gotten about 4 or 5 fills here, and I have about 20 orders. So what is that? That's about like 20-25% of my orders are starting to get filled. Okay, everybody, have yourselves a great day. Wish me luck on the road with Lily. I would appreciate it. All the best. And the only thing left Brian to say to you good people is bye for now.